Hello guys, and welcome to this first session on summarizing your data, where I'll be taking you through a few useful tips. So starting off with some handy procs or procedures in SAS. Really, proc summary, proc means, and proc frac. Those are really very often used to summarize or aggregate data for further analysis. They're very, especially this types of operation, or the use of these procedures very often happens as a prep for other data processes or data analysis operations. And it's also important that you bear in mind that often you can just run the same operation with one of them, but it is good to know them all. It's just basically more tools in your toolbox that you can resort to. Okay, so if we start off with proc means, it really is one of the workhorses for data analysis in SAS. You can use it to calculate summary stats such as sums, means of your variables, variances. You can specify a whole raft of sort of statistical quantities to be calculated from proc means. It can also be used to output data sets of such aggregate variables for further processing. So, for example, the sum by, say, a given class variable. And by default, it generates stats on all of the numeric variables in the input data set. If you don't want this, you need to control it via a var statement. Okay, so there you go. Just an example of a proc means on the retail underscore purchase underscore comp data set. The max dec option is basically telling you the maximum of decimal places you want to use. The no print telling you don't print out the results. N-way means just generate the figures for the combinations of the class variable. So yeah, just a few useful parameters to know, but we'll cover this in more detail during the hands-on session. Okay. Now, proc summary is very similar in nature to the means procedure. It's quite neat to compute descriptive stats for variables both at total level or within groups. Okay, to be honest, 80% of the cases, you'll find that there's no fundamental difference between using a proc means or a proc summary. Nonetheless, it's good to know that it exists. It's also a useful tool to aggregate the data, to output a data set, and to create some aggregate figures. Okay. And the third tip on summarizing your data is, I just want to build on what we discussed during the previous lecture on using proc format to group your data. So basically, we could use the proc format and then a proc frac, to basically perform this. So using the proc format to group our data, or to generate the format that will basically class our data, and then the proc frac to tabulate that by specifying that we want to use a given format for the variable that we're tabulating. Okay, so there you go. For example, we'll cover it in more detail during the hands-on session, but it's also a very neat trick to aggregate, sort of in an implicit way, your data. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys, in terms of some tips, and I'll see you in the next lecture.